Paleofacture is a collection of physical images, hand-constructed by a human, that traces the deep history of Terran technology. It seeks to collapse dichotomies such as nature versus culture in order to present biological adaptations as perpetually modern technologies. The images that comprise Paleofacture trace the deep history of inhuman Terran innovation. Paleo, as in old, facture, as in manufacture, made in 2020 on the Raritan Formation. These were created both as an escape from the mental landscape of immaterially threatening historical time, and as meditation on the scale of human mortality. The imagery is based on evidence preserved by chance in the layers of the Earth's surface, a process that is selectively lossy with respect to what gets archived. The images draw from exceptions to the vast majority of society and ecology, consumed and erased by its successors as the planet roils. It pays tribute to the intentional uncertainty of scientific investigation and rejects meta-historical conscious purpose. Designs most varied and beautiful are always responses to context, though geological time frames may obscure their shocking newness, and semantic obscurity their sentience. Art can speculate on alien subjectivities and imagine us into aporia, whereas science that uses or inspires it must appear to cleave to provable reality. Paleofacture focuses not just on the most significant or humanistically appealing paleontological puzzles, but on the aesthetic sensations recycled from the ruins, by the accretions of metamorphic life smeared into strata like paint smeared in layers on a canvas. Each painting recedes into a color that locates it chronostratigraphically, providing a unique chemical signature, and therefore a sense of the greater cycles barely perceptible at the limits of human temporal understanding. Tectonic, Archean 1, February 2020, oil on canvas, 2.5 by 3.5 inches. 4,000 megaannum. Liquid water and ammonia fall onto cooling metal. Rock floats on magma. Cycles form in the air and sea. The rock has not yet begun to turn over. Electricity cracks through volcanic storms. By chance, something may emerge within this astronomical window from the combination of energy and fluid that can take chemistry in a superficially anti-entropic direction, and cocoon this vessel from the stellar weather. Abiogenesis, Archean 2, March 2020, oil on canvas, 2.5 by 3.5 inches. 3,900 megaannum. Living from non-living, self-replicating chemicals, lipid chains with amino acids that can form geometries to attract ions to form more acids and lipids. These are the glyphs of the language Terran life writes. The gradient between inorganic and organic is a complex nesting of simulations, reflections and representations. RNA World, Archean 3, April 2020, oil on canvas, 2.5 by 3.5 inches. 3,500 megaannum. Before what we officially called life, there was organic cyberspace, a viral ecology of molecular machines in hot soup. A tiny virtual system thrives throughout the planet, hijacking macrobiotic energy and directing its behavior to perpetuate itself. These evolve so rapidly that the first technosphere would bear little resemblance to the enveloped hijackers of animal machines. Many animal adaptations, from placentas to memories, are retroviral programs. Cells, Archean 4, March 2020, oil on canvas, 2.5 by 3.5 inches. 3,000 megaannum. Reproductive strings, housed in bubbles of fat, that consume food for energy, thrive and proliferate. There is an inside, and an outside. These continue to coat and fill almost every part of their host globe. Stromatolites, Archean 5, March 2020, oil on canvas, 2.5 by 3.5 inches. 2,500 megaannum. Cyanobacteria use photosynthesizing chlorophyll to absorb the wavelengths off the peak of sunlight. under the shadow of green absorbing purple halo archaea. As they grow toward light, they are coated with minerals, leaving behind the permanent structures of microbial cities. Slowly cyanobacteria produce enough oxygen to poison the world for most other life. Eukaryote, Paleozoic I, April 2020, oil on canvas, 3 by 3 inches, 2000 megaannum. Some things that get eaten stay as themselves when they become part of you. Cells learn to live in other cells, and live symbiotically as a different lineage. Organelles form a society in which coded instructions are held within their own bubble, and translated by parts of the organism. Tiny factories, some devolved from independent lives, specialize and collaborate. Multicell, Paleozoic II, April 2020, oil on canvas, 3 by 3 inches, 1500 megaannum. Specialization develops between different cells promoting the same genes, and genes code for different types of cells. Life connects itself together using collagen ropes, building structures that are often temporary depending on environment. Conjugation, Paleozoic III, April 2020, oil on canvas, 3 by 3 inches, 1250 megaannum. Microbes will always defy binaries to diversify genes, injecting or exchanging customized programs or whole-coded cells. Gametes are just one of many ways to reproduce. The entire evolutionary process is altered by exchanging information, expanding the branching of parent and child into parental combinations. Senescence, Paleozoic IV, April 2020, oil on canvas, 3 by 3 inches, 750 megaannum. How did death evolve? When did telomeres develop? Why would most macrobiotic organisms choose not to compete with their children? And after how long? Hydra still live forever, bud off babies, and can survive becoming mini pieces, but why aren't there more immortals? Charnia, Paleozoic V, April 2020, oil on canvas, 3 by 3 inches, 600 megaannum. The most basic of codes for larger organisms remain patterns repeating at changing scales. For millions of cold years life, defying differentiation between the lowest trunks of the phylogenetic tree, populated a frozen planet, a whole soft ecosystem, beyond filtering fractal lung stomachs clinging to the seafloor, was erased under glaciers in the worldwide great unconformity, or even a civilization capable of strip mining much of what preceded it. Iterative structures at one scale become organisms at another. Trilobite, Paleozoic I, April 2020, oil on canvas, 4 by 4 inches, 541 megaannum. It is easier to make yourself out of life that already made the things you make yourself out of. But if you want to avoid being food, you have to make parts of yourself out of non-food. You learn to move to get more food, but to avoid being food yourself, you must go faster. Make better eyes out of crystals to see predators, prey, and a new world of swimming, crawling, armored, segmented agents. Hallucigenia and Friends, Paleozoic II, May 2020, oil on canvas, 5 by 5 inches, 518 megaannum. Direction is even more specific than a Terran thing. In the nearly infinite variations of the segmented tube that life has tried, many had identifying directions of front and back not immediately recognizable when viewed casually from an assumptive angle and buried in silt. It is the defensive parts of these things that last the longest, the spikes to foil predators. A creature reflects its environment and the body reflects itself. The tubes diverge into those with the hard parts inside and nerves on the back, and outside bones with nerves on the belly. Cambrian explosion, Paleozoic III, May 2020, oil on canvas, 6 by 6 inches. 508 megaannum. Paleontologists did not understand for a long time what was driving the defensive adaptations of the animals of the Burgess Shale, a larger strop that also seems to have been a holdout of earlier Cambrian biota. They found a weird shrimp that often seemed to come paired in next to a jellyfish. It emerged that this was actually the grasping appendages of an apex predator, the Anomalocaris. Another predator niche was filled by Opabinia, a five-eyed arthropod with a mouth directed backward and a single grasping proboscis that found prey in holes and carried it to the mouth. Ordovician, Paleozoic IV, May 2020, oil on canvas, 7 by 5 by 1.5 inches. 467 megaannum, when the bombardment cratered the Earth. The old ones stranded in an alien biome adapted the local mollusk DNA into RNA-interposed brains that could support their intelligence. Their imaging technology remains implanted in the skins of their creations. Their chambered spacesuits found their place in local forms of slow generational persistence as species radiated to fill all niches of a warm ocean planet. Graptolites began to excavate and mosses and fungi began to explore land and air. Deep in the ocean, the ancient motherships sleep, awaiting their time. The Silurian hypothesis, Paleozoic V, May 2020, oil on canvas, 7 by 5 inches. 430 megaannum, how does a civilization leave its mark in geology? Carbon and heavy metals only reveal age up to a few million years. If we assume industrialization to be equivalent to massive energy use, the traces a short-lived advanced society might leave would involve certain proportions of carbon isotopes in the stone, and other climate change markers. The Silurian was an age of eurypterids and of rapid glaciations and retreats, with little evidence for a civilization from which the hypothesis gets its name. Underwater industry by specialized grasping claws may be alien and old enough to evade human recognition, and animal technology use may be historically as common as dirt. Dunkmobile, Paleozoic VI, June 2020, oil on canvas, 6 by 8 inches. 360 megaannum, a vast and complicated web of fish, with spines and jaws, populated the Devonian seas. Vertebrate jaws emerge so rapidly that there are no clear intermediate forms. So, too, Romer's gap in fossil evidence of vertebrates makes the emergence of the tetrapod difficult to trace. Of those remaining in the sea, some Piscean ancestors traveled in armor, and these placoderm helmets are often all that remains of them. These were predatory machines capable of sucking in prey and snapping shut like a trap, their skull mechanical self-sharpening blades. In the mineral obfuscation of the fossilization process, can we say that this was natural bone, or was this military technology of the age of fishes, terrorizing ocean society further into freshwater, bogs, and land? Luckily, dunks were eliminated by the end Devonian extinction. Lignin, Paleozoic VII, June 2020, oil on canvas, 8 by 8 inches. 330 megaannum, as plants scrambled to compete for light, a new structural material was developed, wood. For hundreds of millions of years, fungus and bacteria had not found a way to consume it, and it grew unsustainably, dying and accumulating carbon into non-biodegradable structures all over the planet. As the resulting climate change locked oceans into ice, animals struggled to balance the production as they moved into oxygen-rich air and land. The layers of coal, all these lycopods, progymnosperms and cladoxylopsids, became the foundation of industrial energy use. As modern society unlocks 300-million-year-old dirty fuel, effectively burning ancient plastic, to this day wood remains a long-lasting construction material, and the material's life has not found a way to decay may form another carboniferous layer distinctive to future geology. If it were possible to break down synthetics now, though, given so much of their usefulness comes from their permanence, would we even want to? Is this what it will look like when synthetics self-replicate? Meganeura, Paleozoic 8, July 2020, oil on canvas, 10 by 8 inches. 300 megaannum, insect wings were an entirely new structural development. They also emerged during a gap in the fossil record, such that flying arthropods are only seen fully formed, and humans cannot determine what existing body part may have altered to become it. Perhaps insects are the descendants of biotech machines from an age already fully excavated by intervening civilizations. By the time of the Carboniferous, they had diversified to become dominant airborne predators with wingspans up to the length of a human arm, their efficiently structured wings serving to circulate the 30% oxygen air into bodies larger than would be possible in later eras, in which vertebrates had caught up and their structural ratios would suffocate them. In the fire-threatened jungles below crept Arthroptera, a giant leaf-munching centipede. Landfish were only just diversifying into amphibians and amniotes. Permian, Paleozoic 9, July 2020, oil on canvas, 8 by 10 inches. 253 megaannum. Our world is built on the ruins of fantasy worlds. The civilization of the Lystrosaurus accomplished more than any civilization perhaps did since, which is to say the greatest destruction. They bred sailed Dimetrodons as beasts of burden, crafted the tooth whorls we now struggle to fit into a living helicoprion, and tapped geothermal energies to build basalt factories by the Bay of Siberia. Yet fundamentally they were dumb cynodonts toying with an ecosystem with few island reserves outside the vast monsoons and deserts of Pangaea. Their hubris would be their doom, and though their burrowing cities would preserve them into the Triassic, their scattered descendants would struggle in barbarity on the world they murdered. The Big Die, Paleozoic 10, July 2020. 8 by 10 inches. 251 megaannum. The massive release of coal into the atmosphere triggered the runaway greenhouse effect that acidified the seas and poisoned the forest. The climate change attributed to volcanic eruptions could just as easily have been enormous weapons, planned based on extraterrestrial escape or otherwise. In this revenge by the inorganic power of the planet, there were several waves of destruction pruning back whatever new recovery life had attempted. Those that survived in small pockets retain habits like spawning inland, producing seeds, or hiding in holes. The land was so denuded that rivers ran straight. Much was lost that can never be known. One controversial sign of the death of life is spore evidence of other life that eats the dead, for decay takes the form of sulfurous bacteria and fungi. A megascaled feedback loop considered by the Silurian hypothesis is that adding greenhouse gases from fossil fuels to the air causes more fossil fuel deposits from dead organisms in anoxic oceans. 70% of land and 95% of sea species went extinct. It was the closest we got to making Earth moon again. The infection that is life may need more than the hell it is putting itself through today to truly be unable to reseed in some form. What will our innovations in inorganic life look like, to whatever survives us? The painting series expands and continues to examine all fossils as technofossils. Visit Bruesselbach.com for my portfolio and check below for a link to the limited edition Paleofacture booklet. Back limericks on Patreon if you like what I'm doing, and get progress shots, prints and more.